What is good, everybody, and welcome back to another segment of Locker Room Talk, where we're talking about all the latest Panther news coming at you live. And again, this week, another loss in the books against the Minnesota Vikings, and a lot of things that still have to get cleaned up on the defensive end of the ball if we ever want to become a sustainable team. I mean, offensively as well, but we'll get all into it. First thing I saw was the run defense right now is just not up to par under any circumstance. Right now, we're a bottom 10 team as far as facing the run. And you started looking at that game, you start looking at Shy Tuttle, Deshaun Williams. We're just not big enough in the interior right now to be able to hold up against the ground game. I watched Alexander Mattison have a good day. I watched even Cam Akers have a solid day in his first presence as a Minnesota Viking. And right now, we're just not getting the job done in the interior. Again, another thing too is that defensive front really didn't do a good enough job in the pass rush. Didn't see much of Brian Burns, Justin Houston as well. I mean, the only real pass rush I can even remember was the YGM pressure that ended up leading to the Kamu Grugier-Hill interception. But for us defensively, I mean, while we did have a solid day, and you look at the numbers and they'll tell you that we had a solid day, you gotta look at some of those turnovers, the pick six early in the game, the interception, but again by Kamu Grugier-Hill. And that team kind of playing from behind and them being able to go away from the passing game early on because they saw how much we could not stop it. I mean, you saw like they're ripping off more than like 5 to 6 yards a clip. There's not really much need to have Justin Jefferson involved in the game where we're able to control the line of scrimmage. And controlling the line of scrimmage, also controlling the time of possession, even though we did end up winning that by the end of the game. But, especially in that second half, once the game became tighter, we weren't able to sustain. Offensively for us, we're still looking at our offense right now that still lacks creativity. I'm still not seeing the trust between Bryce Young and Frank Reich right now. I started to see it more with the receiving core, especially him and Adam Thielen started to click a little bit more. And Adam Thielen, shout out to him for being right now the best free agent signing that we've made thus far to this point. Still not seeing that creativity and not seeing much more work over the middle. I think that's one of the things that I thought I started to see a good bit of from Bryce Young, started to see a bit more confidence from him in terms of, stepping up in the pocket, working the ball over the middle. I know a lot of people have questions about whether he can get the ball over the line or whether he can see over the line, but for a guy that's only 5'10", 5'11", he still, to me, seemed like he had no problem. I think we started to see more flashes of his Bama form than what we ever seen the first couple of weeks. And I think as that confidence grows, you'll start to see more plays like that happen. Even Terrace Marshall, I know for a lot of people questioning why we're throwing Terrace Marshall screen passes, I question the same thing. But from what I did see, I did start to see a connection with him and Bryce Young, especially things that we haven't seen from him and Mingo to this point. Mingo still being very young, still having to go into this game in his first 2 or 3 weeks of his NFL career. That will take time to build that connection. But at least for me, Terrace Marshall is the guy I think you roll with moving forward at that position. DJ Chark for me is still one of those question marks where I'm just like, I can't understand how we saw the connection we saw during the preseason, throughout training camp, and still have not seen that cultivate into anything sustainable on the field. That's one of the biggest things. I think, again, seeing those guys work over the middle of the field will be more of what I hope to see moving forward. I mean, these are bigger body guys. These are guys that you expect to be able to go over the middle and make those tough catches. And even seeing Hayden Hurst as well, I think that's one of those things that it has to be a point of emphasis to get guys like that going, that show you so much promise early and show you that can be a great pacifier for your quarterback that's still learning how to play this game. Aside from that, moving forward against the Detroit Lions, you're facing an offense that can do a lot. I mean, they can run the ball in between the tackles with guys like David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. They can pass the ball. They can get the ball going on the outside with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Can you get pressure? Can you apply pressure? I mean, our secondary, Deshaun Jameson, C.J. Henderson, 2 guys that stepped up and played well against the Minnesota Vikings, but partly due to the fact that our run defense was, unsustainable. We do have to take into account that they're gonna see more action this weekend. With the more action that they see, the more you'll start to see that maybe we just aren't good enough anywhere right now on the field. But I'm hopeful for those guys. Deshaun Jameson, a guy that I was big on this past weekend, just based off his effort, mainly on the interception, right? You go back and you look at that interception, he makes a key block for Sam Franklin that ends up leading to a touchdown. Even in his coverage against Justin Jefferson at times, I mean, he got beat for a touchdown, but when you're facing a guy that's of that tier, of that level, you kind of just chalk that to the game and say it is what it is. You move on to the next. But he still made big plays, big viable plays. And even with not seeing Dante Jackson finish that game, it has to get to a point where we have to say, look, we'd rather just roll with a younger guy that we're not paying instead of rolling with the guy that's been here for since 2018, still has the same issues of not being available and still getting beat on the big plays. So with that being the case, it's gonna be a tough one, but I don't see us getting a victory this week. I think the biggest thing I want to see is, can we start to see more creativity from Frank Reich in this offense? And mainly for me, I'm more than ready to go ahead and shift the play call over to Thomas Brown even before the bye week. I think we've all seen enough, and we still want to see what this offense can be like with a young play call and a young quarterback at the helm. So with that being said, this has been Locker Room Talk. I'm your host, Shanti Stewart, and I'm out.